Beginning in r/ask women, what was something that was seemingly small but had a huge negative impact on your relationship?
His dick.
Hello, Snacks. Welcome back. My name is Jack. Sorry, that has nothing to do with the rest of these stories. I just came across it and thought it was funny. Today, we're checking out some more creepy scenarios and experiences in general. But this first story actually beginning 3 months ago in r/mildly infuriating, with someone telling us, if I got a nickel for every time something penile related or enlargement related was left on my windshield, I would have 3 nickels. Pics for proof they are literally getting enlargement advertisements on their car windshield. Well, not specifically their windshield, but still specifically them 3 times. And it should be noted, they're a woman. Sounds like a weird coincidence of circumstances until we come back over a month, well, no, 3 months later, to just 2 days ago in r/true of my chest, where this OP returns with a lot more disturbing info on what's been happening. I think my boyfriend's landlord is leaving penile enhancement packages on my car. The first time it happened was outside of a pizza place. Went in to grab the pizza, came back out, and there was a small empty package that said male enhancement vitamins. I didn't think much of it, was just annoyed someone put trash on my car. The second time, in April, I was parked on the street, came out in the morning, and there was an empty bottle in its opened box of
Male enhancement vitamins.
I was annoyed, but thought it was a bit of a funny, weird coincidence that it happened twice. Third time was in August. I was parked on the opposite side of the street that I normally park on, came out in the morning, and this time there was the empty bottle, along with a "Get a bigger pee-pee naturally" book. It's posted on my profile if you want to look. At this point, I thought it has to be a prank. I tossed the bottle and kept the book because the stuff inside was ridiculous, lol. I'm also not parked like an a-hole, it's just open street parking. Now the fourth time was just a few days ago, where an empty
Sex God
brand
male enhancement gummies
with 3 pairs of new panties in packages. This is where I realized it probably wasn't a prank, and I ordered a dash cam. Unfortunately, before it arrived, I came out to a 4th pair of panties. No male enhancement packages on my windshield, and I was only parked for 2 hours. That's when I started putting the pieces together. 1. When my boyfriend first moved in, 2 neighbor ladies stopped me on the street and asked if I had moved in. I told them my boyfriend did, and they said for me to be careful because the guy who lives there has exposed himself to multiple women in the neighborhood. I thanked them for the heads up and told my boyfriend and his roommate, to which his roommate ordered one of those devices that can detect cameras. Luckily, we found nothing. 2. When I was walking in one day, the landlord stopped me outside and asked,
"Why do you sometimes change parking spots?"
I just explained that I park wherever is available, but I thought it was weird that he would be paying attention to that. 3. He walked into the suite when no one was home. Roommate is terrible about locking the door, to drop off food for us, which freaked me out, obviously. 4. The roommate was chatting with the landlord for a bit, and the landlord was telling him about how he used to bring back so many girls, and that he takes performance drugs. So, after I connected all the dots, this was all slowly happening from January to October, I feel like it has to be him, especially with the last set of panties that were left. He has a Ring camera, and I have to walk past the front door to get to the suite. Well, I pulled up at around 7:15 p.m., and when I came back out at 9:30 p.m., the panties were there. So I've got my front and back dash cam all hooked up. I have put all the panties in a bag and took photos on everything on my windshield, so it's all time-stamped. And sadly, we have yet to be concluded whether or not this is the case, of if she's right or not. Hell, maybe in a twist of things, it's actually the roommate this entire time. Obvious concern in the comments here, this man is clearly, if he is definitely the person doing this, testing your boundaries and seeing how further he can go. Honestly, the fact you've taken the panties and haven't, dumped them somewhere where he can recollect them himself, absolutely gonna take that as you being on board with this foreplay. And in learning some disturbing truths about spy cameras. So for one thing, the roommate's camera detector is apparently a waste of money, only works if the cameras you're looking for use infrared lights, and apparently using your phone's camera on the black and white setting can do the same thing. Your best method is to get a very bright flashlight and manually check every single screw hole, smoke detector, power point, clock face, nail hole, etc. And this OP is so confident because over 20 years ago, they went to get a spy camera themselves because they they thought one of the people they lived with was being a bit of a thief. And at that store, 20 years ago, there were cameras built into things that you were standing in front of knowing it had a camera in it, actively looking for the camera, and not being able to see it until the shop owner showed you where it was. The camera I ended up buying had a lens that was only 2mm in diameter, and technology has come a long way since then. It was my cousin stealing my stuff, by the way. Others jump onto this that, yeah, it takes like 5 different devices to clear a room with 90% certainty. I mean, goddamn. I am suddenly a lot more anxious about the living spaces I rent. After all, if he's been able to access your suite before, oh, just dropping off groceries, huh? How generous. Not at all a possible alibi for him to access your bathroom and install some cameras into the shower area. I think this comment here really lays out the severity of the situation behind all his actions here. He started by putting empty bottles of enhancers on her car, suggesting he's ready to perform. Then after she took the book, he escalated to just leaving panties. The fact he barged into a renter's apartment, regardless of the reason, is screwed up. Now, to be fair, he didn't barge in. He accessed it due to the roommate's own lack of responsibility. On that note, the roommate who keeps forgetting to lock the door is actively putting her and anyone in the apartment at risk. There's almost certainly some spy cameras hidden in the apartment, and it seems like this dude is only going to get bolder. Either way, we'll just have to keep our eyes open for an update, and hopefully we find out the truth. Now over to r/let's not meet. Now this next story gets rather insane to the point where it actually ended up getting its own news article. Just be advised, the OP does get attacked in this story. In June 2023, I was on a lot of dating apps and would meet people regularly to hook up. I was texting with someone and he invited me over. I took an Uber to his place in the afternoon. Now the building was old and a bit creepy. I started feeling unsafe, but my rational side took over and I went in. The front door was broken, so as I was able to go in, I texted him that I just got there and was waiting for him to show up. Well, a few minutes later, I knocked to what I thought was his apartment. He texted me apartment 9, but he wasn't there. I went back to the lobby and texted that I was leaving in the next few minutes since I didn't get any reply. Eventually, a man shows up in the lobby and I followed him to apartment 15. I said, "That's weird. Why would you tell me you lived in apartment 9? "No, I live in here, apartment 15. "Yes, I noticed, but you said apartment 9. Why?" He didn't seem to understand my question. He looked intoxicated. Apartment 15 was disgusting. Trash everywhere and it smelled like death. I knew I had to leave, but I didn't want to offend him. At this point, I've been in the apartment for a few minutes only. Next, he says, "Blow me." Ain't no way. I showed him our text messages. Is this your phone number?" I asked. "No." I panic. I tell them that I have to leave. I unlock the door, opened it, step outside. I feel something in my back. He was burning me with his cigarette. He then tried to pull me inside, beat me up, and stole my bag. I was on the floor of the hallway when he kicked me in the face, then closed the door. I ran outside and called the cops. The same night, he texted me with a question mark, which is so weird. My jaw was fractured on both sides. I lost a tooth and chipped another one. Thankfully, he's now in jail, and we're waiting for the court to know exactly how much time he will serve. And yeah, OP even sharing an article about what happened, because it turns out she wasn't the only person to have experienced this from him. A 24-year-old young man allegedly arranged dates with women and then robbed and beat them, who was arrested by Montreal police, now looking for other potential victims of this individual. His name being King LaForce as well. What is with that kind of name, man? You could have been such a cool person with that name and you just go ahead and ruin it. You gave the name as much praise as Hitler's mustache design. Just no one wants it now. And yeah, as others say, it's kind of a shame that there's this ingrained desire not to offend someone else over your own comfort. This habit to fawn because you're afraid of the consequences of coming across as disrespectful in society. I know it's something that's kind of assumed only women are conditioned to do, but I mean, I'm a guy who fawns a lot. I know I have a habit of doing it too. It's kind of awkward navigating through that because on one end, okay, well, you put your foot down more. But when you don't know how to do that, it can unintentionally come across as just being an a-hole yourself. You gotta find the middle of the pendulum, and it's kind of hard without some guidance. Now over to this update story. I think my roommate may be poisoning me. I am a 25-year-old female and I live in Seattle. I just moved here a few months ago from New York City because of my dream job, and I was so excited. I worked as a data analyst and I make a very comfortable living. It felt like my life was finally all starting to fall into place. The only thing I needed was a place to live. I took to Facebook because I figured that might be the best place to find a roommate. I found this girl, let's call her Kate, 26 female, and she seemed perfect. She said that her and her boyfriend, 29 male, were in a 2-bedroom apartment that was very spacious, in a great location, and were looking for someone to rent the room. She said she was a 7th grade English teacher and her boyfriend was a physical therapist. All her interests and hobbies seemed to align perfectly with mine, so I agreed to live with them. Well, I moved in 1 month after initially finding each other and everything started off great. Kate and I were friendly and had good conversations when we would interact. One day, however, I get home and she seemed to be in a very bad mood. I asked her about it and she ignored me and walked into her room. I didn't think anything of it, but then I received a text from her that read, "I know you want to sleep with my boyfriend," and that's all she wrote. I was very confused because that was completely untrue. I have been cheated on in the past and I know how devastating it is, so I would never want to inflict that pain onto someone else. There were more texts exchanged and everything seemed to be good, but when I saw her in person, she continued to act weird. I brushed it off. The next day, however, she began to act very nice and sweet, even offering me a smoothie because she knew I was too busy in the mornings to make breakfast. I accepted and went about my day. The smoothies continued every morning and just thought she was being nice. Now, I am experiencing some symptoms and I'm a bit scared. My hair has started to fall out and my hormones have been all over the place. I have developed some weird stomach issues and I get headaches all the time now. This is all new to me. Maybe that the move and all this change is affecting my health, but it does seem to have started around when the smoothies did. I don't know how to catch her and see if I'm right, and I don't want to seem rude and stop accepting the smoothies if I'm wrong. I don't know what to do. I need some advice. So obviously red flags sounding their alarms. Yes, flags have alarms. People demanding they go to a doctor ASAP, take that smoothie with you, get it tested, find out what is in it. Apparently, hair loss accompanied by other symptoms you're describing all point to heavy metal poisoning. Others curious about their nails. Have they developed ridges? How about the half moon at the base? Do they look normal? With someone just down there at the bottom, completely ignored. Mine have ridges, guys. What does that mean? Well, just a week later, the OP does return with an update to let us know how it all come to be. As in a very twisted way, the actions of this housemate make the OP aware of something much worse going on. I want to keep this brief as this experience has been traumatic. I took the advice to go to the hospital and did just that. I went to the hospital the day after the posting and brought along the smoothie. They told me that they were unable to test the smoothie at this time, but they did give me a blood test as everything would still show up there. This would also indicate what is happening in my body and why I might be experiencing these symptoms. To make a long story short, turns out my roommate was adding some sort of creatine or protein powder into the smoothies because she wanted me to bulk up so I was no longer seen as desirable to her boyfriend. See, I told her about what happened at the hospital and she told me everything. That is what was causing my headaches, stomach issues, and potentially the hair loss because I'm apparently allergic to it. So, technically she was not poisoning me, just trying to make me bulky. This, however, is not the traumatic part. While the doctors were giving me all the blood tests, they found out that I have leukemia. This news has been hard for me to deal with. Now, because of my new circumstances, I will be moving back home to be around family as I go through treatment. No, this was not at all how I expected this to turn out. But maybe in a way, it's a good thing. I'm not really sure. I know I am going to be okay in the end. Thank you to everyone again for the support and concern for my well-being. So yeah, again, it's kind of nice to know that it wasn't as dark as we were thinking it might be, but it still also kind of was. Ugh. It is really saddening to hear this turn of events for the OP, but as others argue, just because it's not a poison, it doesn't mean she wasn't intending on maliciously affecting OP's body. And that is very true. And after all, this is the story that the housemate is giving after being told about the whole leukemia diagnosis and why she went to the hospital, etc. It makes people wonder, why is everyone just blindly accepting the roommate's assertion as truth? Where is the proof that it was only creatine in the smoothie? Because apparently that even though she got a blood test, you can't test for everything, and a lot can leave the system really quickly. It's possible that the housemate merely said it was these things because they're most likely around the house to can be considered as, oh yeah, well the boyfriend has protein powder, so she probably just grabbed some of that. Yes, it definitely wasn't possible actual poisoning. She wasn't actually trying to poison her. Last thing you want to do is to be someone who is found to be poisoning someone who's found out to have leukemia. Wow, what a great reputation that is. Either way, it's nice that they've got some family to go back to, and best of luck to the new person that moves in. Maybe keep a lock on every single cup and plate you use to avoid that housemate trying to poison your food as well. Over in Creepy Encounters where, man, what is this life the teenagers have to deal with now? I am afraid for Gen Alpha and Beta's experiences growing up. I was no Romeo myself. I was closer to an Edward Cullen, except without any of the sex appeal. Point is, fellas, if you want a girl to like you, don't blackmail her first. This is a throwaway account since this guy, 18 male, is most likely stalking all of my socials, and I truly don't want him approaching me again. But anyways, I cut off this guy. I'm a 17-year-old female who I was friends with for the past 3 months. He's an odd character. Major anger issues and full-on stalker vibes. I decided to befriend him mainly because I'm not the best at making friends myself. And if you needed some, you'd certainly know how to track him down. Starting this off though, ever since meeting this guy, he has followed me around like a lost puppy, never letting me be alone to concentrate on my schoolwork, always speaking to me, calling me a lot, and spamming my phone. And honestly, that was my first indicator that this guy is a little whack in the head. I'm a very introverted person, and each time I wouldn't be as responsive or focused on my work, he'd respond with anger. Recently though, which is one of the many reasons I cut this guy off, but the topper of it is that he told me that he had AI-generated content of myself. He took a picture of me that I already have had of myself in the mirror, and he proceeded to not show me what in the world he had when I have asked to see it. According to him, it was made just in case I ticked him off and he needed to use it as some form of revenge. He said that he does this with all the people he meets just in case. I'm honestly still in shock, and today, before I had cut him off, he kept finding me around campus. We have morning classes together, so it is very difficult to avoid him. After cutting him off today during my lunch period and proceeded to have him blocked, he has left me be. I am just hoping it remains that way. Now clearly there is only one solution here. Ladies, you are all banned from posting photos online. I'm sorry, it's for your protection. Because as we all know, the only way to solve these situations is to restrict the autonomy of the victims. What's that? You don't feel safe going out at night because it's dangerous? Well, you're banned from going out at night, and if you do, it's your own fault. Consequences, aha! Wow, amazing. Look at those statistics fall because we made people's lives slightly worse and, less comfortable.
Hey, maybe we should target the people actually committing these heinous acts?
Shut up! Shut your mouth! How dare you suggest such a stupid idea!
Point is, school needs to get on this. This man is essentially threatening to try and ruin some career or any aspirations you have socially, but in a somewhat fraudulent way as well. It's a weird one. But of course that begs the question, does she have any grounds to stand on if he isn't actually sending anything that's legitimately real? To say it is because it has her face on it, well then you get into that precedent of what defines someone's personal autonomy of online content being shared around versus someone just, no, scratch that. I'm immediately... It actually isn't the same thing. Even when you try and think of it that far, it's like, well, no, this is literally, he's intending to send around nudes. It doesn't matter if they are legitimately real or not. He's trying to pass them out as being real, so he has the intention there to try and blackmail you. Any backwards excuse or freedom of expression of art, blah, 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 oh, I'm just using your body as a reference for my artistic expression of the beauty of human anatomy. Like, that just doesn't stand. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be as, balanced, despite how much this issue must feel like it doesn't need to be. But yeah, there is just no way to really, just morally at least, consider this as anything less than a creepy man trying to be creepy and trying to, manipulate this woman to his whim. But to add an extra shade of red to this crimson flag, comments point out that OP is 17. So what you can do here is by following the current legal trend. Grab that person who's making this content of you or having these photos changed and charge them with possession of child underage content. As long as you are under 18, it doesn't matter how old, and even better, he is of legal age, they can go this route. People have said it is the fastest way to nip this behavior in the bud. Nobody wants to register as an adult offender and explain that for the rest of their lives. I think that's the greatest problem with this. A lot of people who do this stuff, they don't think it's that big of a deal because they themselves acknowledge in their own head that, oh, this is fake anyway. This is just me recreating an idea. And as long as said person doesn't find out I'm doing these photos, then it's okay. So yeah, thankfully, it seems there's a lot of legalities this woman can pursue. People to report to, people to inform about this with the school itself, and so the OP does bring us an update to go through with it all. So within the next day, we get an update.
Okay, so I'm currently in one of the secluded rooms in my school temporarily as the situation is being dealt with. The second I got into school today, I went to my guidance counselor's office and let her know of the situation. The resource officer and administration was called, so I let them know wind of the situation and other things this guy has said and done. My classes are being worked on so this guy can be avoided, and I am now waiting for whenever I'm given an update about what they're going to do or end up doing with this dude. To add, thank you all for your concern and suggestions on what to do. I truly appreciate it.
So a promising start, everyone is rather glad the school is taking this seriously. But of course, fair warning, don't be surprised if this guy tries to gaslight everyone in the situation. It's likely they're gonna try and quell the situation on both sides rather than consider he is evidentially being the problem here. So be ready to stand your ground. And within another day, we get some updates in the comments where unfortunately, things have ended just as you did expect.
Apparently, they cannot do a thing about my classes. He's staying in my classes. I was told this about 5 minutes ago. They didn't find anything, so it seems like he was full of it, but I'm still unsure. He still went around harassing me though, so I don't know what to do on getting this guy away from me and my classes.
I mean, how bloody frustrating. The fact they didn't find exact evidence that he was harboring these, implicating photos of you. I mean, the fact you've made this complaint alone and clearly explained all the situation should be enough for them to be like, okay, well, let's just separate the classes. You know, I feel like there is something they could have done. And to pour some extra salt on the wound, because hey, why not? Adriana Large Coffee asks, have you told your parents about this? I don't have kids, but I'd raise hell if I were them. And the OP lets us know, oh, her mom raises hell alright. But more so in the comments based on how frustrating her response is.
I have told my parents. The only response I got from my mom was,
just go to classes and don't worry about him.
I'm not sure if that means she plans on helping handle the situation. At the moment, I'm just very lost. Trying to figure out exactly what to do though. Keeping the getting an attorney at high though?
Look, if she's losing her mind right now, I don't blame her. So obviously no help from mum there. Thinking he's harmless, not gonna take this any further when he's already done that. But again, look, yes, it is a hard situation on the school's end as well. From the outside in, this is just one single accusation. Maybe if there are multiple women calling this out, then yeah, there might be some grounds there to deal with it. But for now, they're likely just going to document this situation and wait until something else occurs, which, you know, yeah, just wait for him to escalate. Anyway, we'll end things there. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on some of these stories down below. And until next time, I love your face. Bye-bye.